storm safe and dry was kind of looking at those immediate need, that a child did not need to be in a building that's roof leaked, that the heater air didn't work, or that was unsafe in some way, the electrical problems or the plumbing problems, or sewage running down the hallway, those kind of things. Those were the things, that was kind of the term to define something that needed to be addressed immediately. I think it did a couple things. It, instead of a district carrying the burden of the whole bonded indebtedness, which over a lifetime of a bond is very expensive because you're paying interest as well as the principal on it. But the state partnering with the district, you save the taxpayer dollars because the state was putting in some on the front end, so they weren't having to bond as much, so the burden on the taxpayer over the long term is less because the taxpayer already give it. So they're not paying the interest for 30 years. It may not be as long in terms of what their payment is on the property tax.
And the other thing was, it was a result of the Lakeview case and equal facilities and the challenge from one poor district that's in my district, Lakeview, challenging the state on whether there was enough funding for those students there in Lakeview, a very poor community, whether it was sufficient to provide the same kinds of quality education that a more affluent and richer community could provide.
In 1987, we passed a millage dedicated to capital improvements. Fort Smith District passed a millage, and we dedicated it for capital improvements. We used part of that millage to acquire technology, part of it to work on buildings, and it was just money we put in an account for buildings, and then we did maintenance over time. Today, we have more projects, maintenance projects and renovation projects underway in the Fort Smith School District than we've ever had before. Most of that's not state money. Most of that's local money.
Hartford is a poor area, low economic area, in that the school district has 72% free and reduced lunch. As far as minorities, we have very few. It's 95% Caucasian. We have a hard time passing a millage because anyone that owns land or the property owners are usually retired and they don't want to pay the extra taxes. So when we're talking about facilities, we have a hard time paying for any additional facilities because we don't have the revenue to pay for them.
Our district is a consolidated district consisting of 3 different communities, and while Jasper is the largest of those, Kingston is a very small community. They're a farming community. They're rural. They have very high expectations for their kids, and there's lots of differences between the people that live in these 3 communities. Even though they live relatively close together, it's kind of neat just to see the differences within the communities. Oark is right in the middle of the national forest. There's 150 students at OARC, there's about 250 at Kingston, and there's about 500. Now those are averages. There's about 500 here at Jasper, and those are all K-12. Locally, for the amount of people there is locally here, we do a good job raising money, but it's not a large enough money to really affect our education here. So we don't bring in a lot of outside money other than grant money, and what's provided to us through either our federal monies and our state monies.
The issue that created an inequity in terms of facilities funding was the poverty level in districts across the state. And of course, in rural areas of Arkansas, and I mentioned earlier about having this economy being dominated by agriculture. So we don't have that huge resource in terms of taxing property values. And we won't ever, we'll never be in a position to compete with larger districts and richer districts. So some of what we've been able to do with facilities would not have ever happened if we had to raise the money, all of that money locally ourselves. So we won't be able to afford new facilities going forward if there is no option available at the state level to assist with that funding.
Two years ago, we used facility partnership funds to replace the roof on the high school and the roof on what we call the music building and the roof on the old gym. And we also used partnership money to upgrade our science labs. I'm trying to think of what all we did. And we used partnership money to replace or to cover the asbestos tiles that were in the cafeteria and in the elementary.
Partnership money has been excellent for our district. We would not be where we're at right now if it wasn't for the state's partnership program. We completed the auditorium with partnership money. We have put a new roof on our Kingston campus with partnership money. We are currently putting electrical service into the Jasper facilities, the old parts of the Jasper facilities. That's an $870,000 project. We've already put electrical service into the OARC campus. And we are currently building 6 classrooms in OARC with partnership money. And that is also including a safe shelter, a tornado shelter. We are fixing to start building a new cafeteria with 2 additional classrooms on the Kingston campus that includes a safe shelter. So we've been very well blessed with our partnership money.
One of the projects, and we were turned down because it wasn't a warm, safe, dry situation. That was plumbing needed to be updated, restrooms at the high school, at junior high, and Reed. At Reed, we've got some older buildings, we've got newer buildings, all on the same campus. And, after a while, the fixtures and the petitions and all that stuff are gone, and we were really counting on that, but we wasn't approved on it.
We were at a point here where if you turn the microwave on in the teacher's lounge, it would throw the breaker because the copier was running. So we're providing those necessities with our partnership money and not being able to get ahead, not being able to provide those advances. We've just this year, put wireless in all of our campuses. So we're catching up. But when we're constantly fixing water leaks, water lines, and spending our money on things like that, then putting sheetrock in place of paneling, that we have to provide the money is requiring us to provide those needed things before we can provide those extras.
I mean, you're always going to have facility needs. You're going to have districts that are growing. You're going to have districts that have facilities that will age out. You know, they were built, 5, 10 years before this program, so they're still in good shape. But 10, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to need some serious updating. So it's going to be a continual process. If you're in a room where you can't hear the teacher because of the heater or the air conditioner, and that's one thing we talked about a lot, was how the standards and how you design the room and all that. I for one do think you could tell too the attitude of the students. If you're in an old rundown house, your attitude's different than if you're in a newer house or a newer updated house, upgraded house. So I think it has, in terms of their attitude when they walk in the building, in terms of their willingness to learn. If I'm in this, I'm back in this crappy old place, and apparently they don't care about it, so why should I care about being here? So I think it has, there's something to be said for a student's attitude for when they walk into a building and what that building says about their community and the pride in it. But also the way the room is designed and the equipment that's in the room. The ability for the teacher to be able to instruct the students without them, having something carrying their attention away from it, certainly has an impact on student learning.
My interest is that as a mother. My interest is that as a member of this community and a person who desires to have the children in my community to have access to things that are going to help them make it in this digital world.
Are we there? No. I don't think anybody could argue that we're certainly to where, you're talking about issues that had gone on for decades. So you're not going to solve it in, what are we now? We're not even 10 years yet.
Unless there is priority given at the state level to assist in that effort going forward. And I appreciate everything that's been done to this point in time. But what has been done doesn't correct the fact that some districts are just poor by virtue of local resources. And going forward, that's not going to change. And so to assume that you can fix it now and then eliminate any opportunity going forward, those gaps will continue to grow and exist because of a resource deficit. And rural areas of Arkansas are not going to magically get to a point that they have the same resources that richer districts have in Arkansas.
Are we better than we were? You bet. Do we still have a long way to go? I'm sure.